Hello, welcome. We are having a group conversation today talking about how you find your voice. And I thought it would be amazing to bring in a couple of artists to talk about the process of finding your voice. So we have Caris with us, who's a mixed media collage artist who reimagines iconic performers' theatrical subjects using vintage prints, recycled fabrics, and repurposed items. And we have Rowena, who is also based in the UK, paper cut design, exhibiting locally, and has sold worldwide, and has really delicate paper cut designs that are inspired by natural world and the love of magical and whimsical themes. I love how you both have your bio describing your voice. And so what that's what we wanted to talk about. I'll come to Caris and Rowena in a second. But I wanted to just first of all talk about there seems to be an echo when I'm talking, actually. Let me just make sure everything's okay my end. No, it seems to be okay now. I can hear a bit of an echo. Um, yeah, I wanted to talk first of all before we jump to Caris and Rowena about what we mean by this term voice. And some people refer to it as a style. And for me, I like the term voice because it's something that is continually evolving for me, and I think when you think about your creativity and your art being an extension of yourself, and that how when you're exploring your creativity, what comes out of you is a part of you. And for me, finding my voice has very much been a practice of that, about noticing what it is I want to say through my work. And when I look at my art now, I see myself in the work. I'll see subtle ways I've used marks or the subject, the themes throughout the years. Some of them have carried all the way through. And this knowing now an identity that I can see in my own work has come from reflecting on it over the years, on pausing, on looking, on very much kind of looking at my work as a whole over the years, but individually. And so it's enabled me to start to see my own voice in my work. And so for some people, it's about having something very specific that looks the same. Um, and for others, it's about maybe a thread that ties the work together. And the work maybe looks very different, but there's something driving that work. So that's what we're talking about today in terms of finding our voice. So, Caris, I'm going to jump to you first. So nice to have you here. Welcome.
Nice to be here, thank you.
And so, can we talk back a little bit where you maybe first began? Because we were talking about how you, when you started, you were kind of creating very different work to what you're
Mm.
creating now.
Yeah, I was. I always say I always wanted to be an artist. That was all I wanted to do, from the age of 4. I went to a art college degree show, and I saw, in Wolverhampton, which is quite local, and it's like a 7-story building, and I just saw all these layers of people making different types of art, and I just thought, "Oh, I wanna do this, and I wanna go here," and that was I don't and it was I can really remember it, and it just basically that was always I never really considered doing anything else. Um, but I didn't have I think 'cause I never felt I was good enough, I think, like a lot of artists.
Mm.
I felt my drawing was good enough, my painting, but I was told, like a lot of people, there was things I was told along the way. Um, some memorable moments about being told I wasn't, technically good enough to go to art college. I was doing A levels, which obviously not all I wanted to do. So there was there was that doubt really. But I did so I was mostly painting and doing really large scale drawings by the time I went to art college. And I continued with that until I left and worked around having a family. And there was this feeling in me quite often, I should be doing this. should be doing that, and it just always felt a bit of a chore, to be honest. It felt hard. Um, so I used to do little collages as like a sideline, and that was my little bit of play, and I never took it seriously. Um, and then I started to show people, and people really liked them. And I kind of thought, well, why aren't I doing what I really, really love doing? So that's how it kind of shifted really, and now I just work purely in collage, mixed media collage. Um, and it 'cause it is absolutely I can't stop doing it now. It's the opposite from feeling like I should, it's like I can't stop doing this, it's great. Mm.
It's interesting because, over the years, I've had a lot of people join us who are creating art, and they don't even realize it, but it's just not the art that they want to create. And then it's only when we start having conversations like this and we start looking into what makes us happy, or we ask those questions like you did, like, "Why don't I just create this? This is the bit that gives me joy."
Mm,
And sometimes the answer is staring us in the face, and
yeah.
so many people have joined us and ended up coming in and realizing that, yeah, this isn't the work I wanna make anymore, and sometimes it's either because we've been influenced by someone else's opinions,
Mm.
so we've gone down that road thinking this is the work I should create, or we've just started making and then realized, yeah, this isn't what I wanna do anymore.
Mm. Yes.
And we evolve, and that is a cycle, isn't it, that happens anyway. And
Yeah.
so I'd love to talk then, so you were creating the collage alongside your kind of, how would you describe
Oh,
it in your own
it
words?
was
The
so
serious work or the proper work?
yeah, it was so different. I mean, it was big, dark by the time I yeah, sort of towards the end of uni and then carried on with it. They were big, dark, physical, kind of compressed charcoal drawings. So a lot of kind of physical and I still love drawing, but a lot of very physical drawing and rubbing out, and they were big and they were quite they've always felt like a battle. I mean, I quite enjoyed it because I didn't know what was gonna emerge, but there was always this push and pull and what is it gonna be? And it was quite draining to do them and messy when I was doing them at home. I didn't have a studio then. Um, and I kept doing them because that what I'd been doing at uni, but I kind of lost the point of why I was doing them really. You know, what else I had to say with doing this work. I didn't know, you know, it felt like my serious work, this serious, and I feel, it's pulling all this stuff out of me, and it's hard. And that's what I've kind of I suppose I always felt, maybe I felt that that's the way you should be feeling when you're making, that you're kind of it's work and it's, dredging all this stuff out. And so, yeah, the other part that was doing something joyful one was just release that and just play. And that was just that like, "Oh, this is just great, and I haven't got to worry about showing anybody, and it's just really fun, and I feel in my element." So that was how the 2 things felt really.
Amazing. And so when you started at that point, when you were creating the other works, was the intention at that point to sell or to get the work out there, or was it purely for yourself? Was there any motivation at the point of making those pieces? Like, was there a bigger dream of what you would do with them?
There began to be. I mean, at the beginning, I was just playing and I wasn't sure, and then I quite liked the results, and then I did a couple more, and then I did apply and I had to put them out there because 'cause I'd been exhibiting the drawings before, so I was used to kind of exhibiting to a point, and, so I did an art fair, um, for the first time and took some of those and did it with a friend who was completely different, but it was just to have that, that bit of confidence, and I sold one, and that was the point I went, "Oh, okay, so not only do I love doing these, people wanna buy them as well," and that for me, that's when it kind of just became, "Okay, this is what I do. I'm gonna just do this because I love it," and I feel validated now, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah. And so then so the other pieces that you were creating, did you kind of still work on those, or did you then just put all of your time and effort into the collage?
I just stopped working that other way. I just stopped with the big drawings, and I just started working in collage, and I was so excited. It, like, reignited that feeling, that absolute joy of making, and I was just brimming with ideas, whereas with the big drawings, I was always searching, "Okay, what do I do? Okay, those are the things I've done before, so I'm gonna do more of that," and da, da, da. Whereas with the collage work, suddenly I had this whole bank of ideas and I couldn't stop. And my sketchbook was full of works and I started collecting things. And it's been like that ever since. I've still got, well, I've just always got so many more ideas and I've got time. So it just made it was really it was, so it's funny now looking back how obvious it was. This is what I should be doing because I just had such drive to do it. Yeah.
And how long ago was that, Caris,
I would
that you made that
say what
focus?
this over. It was around about, I don't remember now, it's something like 2009 maybe, something like that. So it's quite a while ago, but and the first piece I did actually it was a drawing in my old style, and then I made a little paper figure, um, separately, and I stuck it on top of my drawing, and that was a little, ooh moment of like, "Oh, I like this combination." So it gradually kind of grew from that.
Love it. And so can you now describe what life has turned into since you've started to focus on the collage? Because I've known you
Oh,
for a long time now. We've been on this journey, haven't we, for
yeah.
a while? And so for me, I remember years ago, you kind of finding your place and trying to find your people and all of that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And now I can see you really stepping into that. And when we last spoke, Harris was saying to me, and I've been in this hotel in Brighton, and when Harris showed me the pictures of the hotel, I was like, absolutely, I can see why it was just so you. So tell us about how it's unraveled
Mm.
those parts now as well, how it's impacted your life because you're also teaching it and
Yeah. So yes, I mean, I run workshops and classes kind of alongside, but kind of really broad. And what I do now is I teach very specific to my art forms, collage. And of course, I'm really excited about doing that and love sharing that. Um, so I started putting my images onto products in around 2020, really, when I couldn't exhibit as much and couldn't do the art fairs. So I started then selling online, and so that's grown into kind of a range of kind of homewares and cards and bags and things. So I do quite a lot of art markets and fairs with that. Um, I'm based in a studio now. I've been in English Bridge Studios in Shrewsbury, just over it's a year in January, which is amazing arts community. So there's about 15 of us in the building. I'm in it usually about 4 days a week. I also teach classes here. Um, so it's yeah, I've become I mean, I am a full-time working artist, which is split between the workshops, the classes, and then making art here,
yeah,
and then running the business, kind of online business and shop as well.
yeah, amazing. Congratulations, by the way, on that, and because it's been a long time coming. We were talking about this, how we were reminiscing back because it's my
Mm,
10th anniversary, and, just looking back at the 10 years and how
mm,
we sometimes have this vision of what we want for our art, and it takes time.
yeah,
And we were saying this, weren't we, that it's the long game
it is.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think I felt because I was a teacher at one point, I was teaching 5 days a week, mostly within the community. I didn't have taught in colleges and uni as well, but I kind of felt I was a teacher and a tutor, um, primarily for quite a long time. And, I wouldn't have called myself an artist, even though I was making art. It felt the secondary thing to the teaching because there was more hours in the teaching. I'd say it is more evenly split now, but I also see the teaching part and the workshops are still a really important part of my identity as an artist, and I don't see that as separate anymore. I don't see that as a lesser thing. It's a really lovely, joyful thing to be able to teach the thing that I am passionate about and share that. So those things now are much more aligned, I think, than they used to be.
yeah, it's that integration, isn't it? So this is something that, um, I'm looking at more this year in our creative living platform. We're thinking about how we live, create, become, and those things all being integrated. And I think the more you can bring those parts together like you have, it
Mm.
just feels well, it's again, it goes back to that voice piece. It is you. It's like
Yes.
this is all you, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, yeah. And I'd love to know your process then. So as we're talking about finding your voice, we know that you kind of um started to fine tune and refine in terms of collage. Can you talk to us about what your approach is? Because we can see pieces in the background.
Yeah.
And you said in your bio that there's a focus on vintage prints, recycled fabrics, repurposed items, but then also the theatrical and performance side too.
Yeah.
Could you talk to us about how that emerged, that side of your art process?
I mean, definitely the theatrical thread has always run through. And when I was drawing, and I mean, it's funny because I'm not myself, I'm not a performer at all, but I love the immersive, environments of theatre. I used to be involved with Carnival in South Wales. It's always been something that's just that transformation and becoming another character of storytelling. So it's always that thread's always been there, and so the collage process is very much about storytelling. So all the pieces, and I like to reuse things that have been discarded. So I don't work digitally, and I don't print anything deliberately. It has to be found and sourced, which I really like, and it kind of gives me a framework. Um, so then if I'm working, so like some of the images behind were for a festival commission. So there was storytelling around specific people. So finding the right image to start with and then building on that and taking pieces from one context, which it might be a homewares magazine or an art magazine or a gardening magazine or, an old program. And all those pieces are chosen to tell a very specific story. Either it's about a particular person, but mostly actually it's about my relationship with the work that I'm making, about, if it's somebody like Grace Jones, then it's what she means to me. And so that's the kind of storytelling element. Um, so that's kind of how it develops really.
And then in terms of the kind of pulling together of it, is
Mm,
there a process for you in terms of the making? So you kind of said there that you've
yeah,
had a subject in mind, but
yeah.
then when you're actually composing it, is it a more intuitive thing, or do you have something set out at the beginning?
No, I have a very I have to find the right focal point, so it's finding what the anchor is really. So that's kind of key. So I'll gather quite a lot around the story, and I'll do notes, and I immerse myself in whatever it is I'm making the work about. I listen to podcasts, I listen to music, and I kind of usually find a word or something that anchors it, that it gives me the theme. And then it's very intuitive. And when I find the right, kind of starting point image, then everything kind of grows from that. So then my color palette is established. I do a lot of laying things out and photographing it and looking at it through a screen, actually, which really helps me look at the composition. So I spend a lot of time moving little bits of paper backwards and forwards before I decide on the final piece. So that is actually quite a slow process. And
Yeah.
I now have got, I think I just trust I know the feeling. I know when
Mm,
it's right, I know when it's not right. And
yeah.
I'll leave time in between if I'm not sure about something. I'll look at it when I'm back home. I look at it on my screen and just think, what is it that's not sitting right? And just go, right, I'm going to switch it out. And the lovely thing with collage is I can just take it away and look at what it looked like before, or I've got a record if I need to go back a few steps. So that's how the process is really.
Oh, I love it so much. I'd like to just get inside your brain and be in there when you're doing that because I'm just thinking I'm going a bit deep now, but I'm just
Mm.
thinking when an artist like Caris is working in that way of like the paper and sitting with it and then coming back and then swapping another paper in. Yeah, it's interesting to me, like, what is going on inside the brain at that moment, and I think this is part, again, of finding your voice and your way of describing this, that you just feel it, like, "That's not the
Mm.
right one, this is the right one." And I think that comes you the more you play, the more you notice, the more you create, that side just starts to come in, doesn't it? And I think that's over the years of you. It's like you've got a memory bank now of, "Oh, that probably needs a solid mass, or that needs a pattern, or that needs
Yeah.
a bit of space." And so there is an element of, like, looking objectively of what you're seeing, but it
Yeah.
sounds like there is also, like you said, the feeling,
Yeah,
which is coming
there
from
is.
you.
And I mean, for me, it's just got to be right. And it's not perfect. In fact, I really like imperfections. But if something just isn't, if I'm not feeling it, then I need to push on. I need to take it that bit further. I need to
Yeah.
change something. So it's got to be absolutely right, I think, before I want to, stop or put it out there.
Yeah.
So because otherwise it'll just, I'm sure artists like this, like, bugs you forever if you do something and then you're like, "Oh, no, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, why did I do?" Which still, of course, it still happens.
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask that question that everyone wants to know
Mm.
is, how do you know when a piece is finished, Caris?
Mm. Yeah,
How
it
do
is
you
it is
know?
a feeling. It will take me a really long time. I'm trying to, I've set myself a goal, which is gonna be quite a long-term goal now. I thought I was gonna do it in a year, and there's no chance, but I want to do, work related to the alphabet
Yeah,
because I actually wanted to set myself, a bit of I'm trying to sort of work slightly quicker because I can spend months on one piece, and I thought, "I'm gonna just see if I can do things and be, just trust my intuition a bit more."
yeah,
Uh, it's really challenging because it's not actually something you can rush necessarily. So I'm learning a lot on the way about how I work, but
yeah, that's interesting.
it's that, just sitting with it really, don't and have to go, okay, I don't know if it's finished. So I just need to sit with it and keep looking and, it will come and just trust that I will know now and just go, you'll know when it's done. And it is just a sort of, there's something in me that goes, oh, right, that's it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think
so
that's why it's good looking back at previous work sometimes because you can look back and go, "Yeah, that one wasn't finished." You can see that now. Oh,
yeah,
well. And then you know for
yeah,
next time.
yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, if you have any questions, by the way, and you're tuning in, please do let us know. I'll jump to Rowena and then we'll come back and kind of have a group discussion at the end too. But that was really insightful. I think it's always just amazing to see somebody else's process. And before I move to Rowena, actually, I just want to say I visited Caris's studio and oh, it was just amazing with all the work everywhere and all the magazines and all the inspiration.
Thank you.
And it does make a difference, the space that we have, doesn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, this is the first time. Oh no, I had a space in a shop for a couple of years, but this feels very different than to be in a working studio.
Yeah.
It's been amazing, and it has taken me a really long time,
Yeah.
to get here. I have to say, it has definitely been the long game, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's I appreciate it every day now.
Amazing, amazing. I'm just gonna shout out Nina, who's tuning in, is reading my book, Your Art Matters, and loving it. Oh, so good. Good to see you, Nina. I hope you're well. Okay. Oh, Laura's with us as well. Hi, Laura. Rowena, it's so good to see you. Um,
Hello, thank you for
Rowena
having me.
is our paper cutting artist, which I think you are probably one of the only paper cutting artists that we have in our community.
I think that there is someone
Is there?
else
Yeah.
that has been posting recently that I think does paper cutting as well.
So there's
Um,
another.
but I think it's quite different styles.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Different voice.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that's exciting to see another paper cutter.
It is. It is. Because I have to say, I am in awe of you, Rowena, because it is something that I definitely don't have the patience for or the delicacy and I have a very rough kind of so I do admire when I see work like yours. And so if we could go back over the same kind of process of when did you find paper cutting? Because it's a very, very specific type of making, isn't it?
Yeah. Um, it's funny that you say that you don't think you have the delicacy and everything because that is absolutely me. I've like, is it Caris?
Caris,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. I've wanted to be an artist my whole life. Since I was a very tiny girl, I told people I'm an artist and I'm a singer. That's it. I wasn't really bothered about following necessarily an academic path or anything because that's who I was.
Yeah.
But when I did art at school, which I only did to GCSE level, I was always working very quickly, very big. So they just kept giving me bigger and bigger pieces of paper so that I'd still be working at the end of the session because I'd just be like, wow, 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 go, all the ideas everywhere. And then they'd be like, yeah, but there's half an hour left, Rowena, you're going to have to do some more. And I'm like, oh, no, but I'm bored now. So they just kept giving me bigger and bigger pieces.
Bigger
And my
pieces.
work was very bold and very big. Um,
Oh, interesting.
but I've,
What materials sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just
no,
really
it's fine.
curious, like, what materials were you using at that point?
Um, paint,
Yeah,
collage, trash.
yeah.
I made a dress out of crisp packets for one project. Um, I was always very interested in hidden details though. So I remember one piece that I made was um, on a massive bit of paper, and it was an eyeball, a close up of an eyeball, but then you could see inside the eyeball what the eye was seeing. So it was, you have to look and then look again. That's always been something that is reoccurring for me. But it was always very quick, very instant gratification. I needed results now. Otherwise, I would be on to the next project. And I like all sorts of mediums. So I have got chalk, I've got paint, I've got pastels, I've got all just anything you can think of. I've probably given it a go. Um, but I have, looking back, always been interested in paper. So origami, I remember doing this one craft where you use a needle and you just poked lots of holes into the paper to make your images. I remember being fascinated with that for a while. But I only did art till GCSE. I left school and went to college to train to be a makeup artist. So I was continuing with the makeup, the art theme, but wanted to do makeup because I wanted to be in theatre. And I thought, well, if, I want to be on stage, but if not, backstage will do. I like scenery, I like makeup, I like costume. I just wanted to be part of that world. Um, but then I came away from art for a while. I got married, had children, and immersed myself in mummy land for a while. Um, and then my marriage broke down when my children were very young, and I met someone new and started to explore my artistic side again. Started to sing, started to draw, started to go back to doing that as a way of, I don't know, finding myself again. I think after what was a very immersed and wonderful time with my young children, but still, I didn't know who I was anymore.
Yeah.
And a year into this new relationship, I'd been following some artists on Facebook, and I'd come across someone called Paper Panda, who was a paper cutter. And she was doing a lot of work that I found fascinating, and she did song quotes. So for our first anniversary of being together, I commissioned, which was crazy to me. The fact that I was able to commission an artwork was, that's what other people do. That's mad. I commissioned the lyrics to our favourite song in a paper cut, and she made
Wow.
it, sent it in the frame because paper first anniversary and all of that, and it was beautiful. But I looked at it and went, oh, I want to have a go at that. So, without looking to find out how to do these things or looking for instructions or anything, I thought, well, it's paper and a knife. We've got those things. So I got a bit of paper and I got a knife out of the kitchen and I drew a design and I cut it out. And I was immediately hooked. Immediately hooked. I started copying some of her designs to practice. I immediately emailed her and went, I'm really sorry. I'm copying your designs, but I'm fascinated. I'm not selling anything. Don't panic. It's not that
Yeah.
good. And we became friends, and bought a paper cutting kit from her, and I went and did some workshops with her, and I've never stopped cutting holes in paper. There are little bits of paper everywhere, probably in my hair right now. There's paper it's just the one thing I've stuck to. Um, but it calms my mind. It's the one thing that stops
Mm.
me from racing to the next thing. You can't rush paper cutting. It's a bit dangerous to do so. Um, so it is the one time I'm like zoned right in,
Mhm.
writing right down, and working on this artwork. And I still like lots of different artworks. I'm doing lots of different things, but paper cutting is where my heart lies. I love it. It just fascinates me.
I love that so much. So you're still dabbling on the outskirts, as we all do, I guess, with all the other things, but it's like you've found your what takes you into your flow state, your joy. I think it's that hook, isn't it? And I think this is it in a lot of us. It's finding the thing that hooks us in and that has a bit of longevity. And I think it can either be a material or just because I'm just saying this now because 'cause we've got Caris who's gone down the collage route, Rowena who's paper cut, and for some of my friends, it's been clay, and it's been like the material has been the focus, but it can be a subject matter. So for me, it's been the word imprint has been throughout my work, and that has been the thread. And I just wanted to share that because it is about finding your voice is about finding that thing that hooks you in, like Rowena's just described, the thing, where you just go, "Oh, I love this." And that's for me the theme. I love the theme, and it keeps bringing me back to more, um, ideas and what I can create next. And Rowena, could you talk us through then how that then became, because it's your daily practice now, isn't it? And you're an artist, you've sold internationally, you have shows,
Mhm.
and this is a big thing for you now, paper cutting, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, it was a hobby. It was very definitely a hobby. I had no real thoughts of turning it into a business. Um, my children were still very young. I was working around my kids at home. I was very lucky to be at home with my three children. Um, but it did give me time. Once they were at school, I had some time, and so I just started doing more and more. And as you start sharing, and people go, "Oh, can you make me? Oh, I've got an idea. Can you create something for me?" And it just sort of organically grew into what's something that could be something. And my little artist heart started thinking, well, maybe it's not too late. Um, but then when my youngest started secondary school, I decided that I should probably get a proper job. So I have got some proper jobs.
Yeah.
Some proper here, one of my children leaving at the moment through the front door. So I work outside of art as well.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky that I've got two or three different jobs so that I don't get bored.
Yeah.
But I do the art around it. And I was building towards just being an artist. I joined United Art Space. I was feeling very inspired, building up collections and having working in shows and things like that. And I lost my way a little bit because we had a little bit of um, a traumatic time where we lost the home that we were living in, and I lost my workspace. And COVID and all of loads of things happened that took me off my path. Um, it's always been there. I've still been doing stuff,
Mm.
but I've not been building it up.
Yeah.
This year, I have made a conscious decision that I really do want to return to it. It's never too late. Um, that's what I'm telling myself. So I'm only 43. There's like many, many years ahead of me, yes. So there's still time for me to do something with it. I've started doing my workshops again. I've got a show, I'm taking part in an art show next month, which I'm very excited about and not terrified of at all.
Yeah, we've got you, Rowena.
It's going to be fine. So yes, in on some way, I'm an artist. I've got a website and I sell work and I do commissions. And also, I work in a shop and I
Mm.
have to do the housework. And I
Yeah.
I feel like I'm living two very different lives. And also, I am a singer. My little 4-year-old self would be absolutely delighted to discover that not only do I make artwork, but I go out and sing and get paid for that too. So that's pretty cool. But
Yeah.
there are only so many hours in the day and in the week. So everything is little pockets of joy, but they
Yeah.
are pretty joyful. So that's good.
I like that, share, Rowena, of because there will be people here that have other jobs and other work alongside their art. And sometimes that can make an artist feel like they're not a proper artist, but
Mm.
you are still an artist. It's like you're still creating the work, you're still doing it, you're still an artist, and how you live your life is up to you. And sometimes it is that we have to have a job alongside it, and sometimes it's a choice. And I spoke to a few people recently that said that they thought that they wanted to be a full-time artist living and breathing all day long, and realize that actually they do like having the stability of a job and that other kind of way of thinking, and that the two can coexist together, and it's absolutely fine, and it is. It's like, and it doesn't have to impact how you see yourself as an artist.
I think there's
Um,
no one right way.
no, there
I
isn't.
think that's what
No.
we have to remember. A lot of the time, whether it be a job or a lifestyle, we see one way of doing things. You know, you think that you have to be married with a mortgage and you have your 2 kids and you do this, but actually some relationships don't work like that and they're perfectly happy. And in the same way, my working life is very different. There are people that look at me and go, I don't know how you live like that. How do you know where you're going every day? You get up in the morning, which job are you going to? Because I do have 3 jobs, plus I run an open mic locally at the pub, plus the artwork, plus the workshop,
Well,
plus
yeah,
doing panto and whatever else. So it's
yeah,
chaotic,
yeah.
but it works for me. You don't have to have one way. And having these retail jobs that I have, and I also invigilate at the local school, means that I've got a regular income coming in that takes the pressure off my artwork.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have to feel that I've got to make something that will sell, and oh my god,
Mm.
if it doesn't sell, what will I do? Because
Yeah,
my bills are covered by this part.
yeah,
So this,
yeah.
is like it's a bit of icing on the top of the cake, and it
Mm,
takes that pressure away from me. And I needed that pressure taken away from me. A
yeah.
bit. I found it a little overwhelming to think, oh my god, every
Every
month
time.
I'm clawing,
Mhm.
trying to make sure I'm making it. It was too much. Doesn't
Yeah,
mean that down the road I won't attempt it again. I may
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
may do that, but I may never, because I like different challenges and I like having different inspirations. I mean, I get inspired every day in these different jobs to go home and go, oh, I've got to try and see if I can recreate that in paper.
Yeah.
If I was just at home isolated, I might not feel quite so inspired.
Mm, yeah.
It's-
Oh, this is super. This is all super, super, super because this is what exactly what you're describing is how you live, create, become all being one. And that actually those jobs infuse something, re-energize you, a connection, a word that you're talking about. It's like a co-creation. It's like we create through other people, don't we? We don't just create in a vacuum. We create when we're surrounded by other people, when we're that's why we're having this conversation now. When we have conversations like this and it goes, "Oh, I'd love to go off and try that," or "That's a great way of living. Thank you, Rowena. I'm gonna think about that." And that's what it's all about. We're taking ideas from each other, but you've touched on a couple of important things here. I just need to get my head in gear so I can summarize them. And I think the first one is what we've just been saying really in a nutshell, that you get to choose. And actually when you start to notice how other parts of your life do impact your work, they just will because your art is you. And so everything around you impacts you in some way. And so the way you live, the way you think, all of that is going to impact your art. And that is you finding your voice as a creative. And so that blows my mind sometimes is we see all these things being so separate, but it is all one. The other thing, Rowena, that you touched on was how life has gone kind of, like this, and how you would be on a pathway finding your voice and working on your artwork, and then life takes over. And I just want to bring us back to that because sometimes in those periods, that's when an artist can start to feel like they're not an artist anymore. I'm not a creative. It's gone. I'm wasting time. No, everything's stopped. This is terrible. Will I ever get back to it again? Maybe that's the end. And one thing that is really lovely though is that it's life, it's seasonal, and you know intuitively that's time to park it right now because these other things are important. And actually now coming back to it, you come back as having all the experience before, having had the space, and coming now with a fresh perspective. And I think there's so much gold in that. And I think sometimes as creatives, the pauses are as important as keeping going all the time. Like sometimes that space and to go and focus somewhere else is sometimes what life is throwing us because we need to take a back step and you come back to it. And hearing you talk more about the clarity of this is how I was feeling, the art started to the pressure of making a living was impacting the art I was making. It was impacting the stress levels and the feeling of I need to make because of this. And I want to touch on this too, because this is sometimes where I've heard a lot of artists say this recently, that they found themselves going down a pathway of making and they've been selling, which has been great, that now they're starting to become or feel like they're becoming a commodity. Like, I have to sell now, I have to create more of this because I've got to keep paying the bills and I can't change now and I've got to keep doing this, or what you're saying, Rowena, was the pressure almost was kind of maybe taking away the joy of creating. And then that's something to recognize, isn't it, in ourselves? And then what I love is you found the solution to that. Get the job, and then I can continue making in a really joyful, free, liberating way.
Mm.
And now things are moving and shifting again, and you're showing. And so I love that sometimes we have to just take a left turn when we were going to take a right turn, or we have to take some space. But it is all part of finding our voice. It all contributes towards it. And going back to this conversation around a lot of people I've heard recently said, I just want to make art without thinking about selling. And that, if you're in that situation, what I would suggest is you just create some playtime. So you're still creating those focused pieces that you're selling, but you're carving out a day to just play. And like going back to what Caris said, Caris's playtime was actually the art that you ended up doing full time. There can be a lot of lessons in the play. Um, and so, yeah, and that's how we evolve. Sometimes if you're finding yourself feeling like, I just want to create without thinking about selling, that's your own internal system going, I want to play, I want to explore something different. And that's your own intuition, going back to intuition, saying, right, it's time to play around here and move this on. Because you're an evolving being, that is just what happens. Rowena, I'd love to go back to you and talk about your process in terms of creating your pieces. So, talk to us about that. Do you have a subject matter in mind? Do you find the perfect image and go, "Oh my gosh, that would be the perfect image to turn into paper"?
I think often a inspiration comes from very different things. It might be that I see a shape that fascinates me. It could be walking and I see a fence, and the way that design is, I thought, oh, that would be really lovely as a border on something.
Mm.
Or I have one piece that has a squirrel in it, and it was purely inspired by the squirrels in the tree in my garden. I thought how beautiful they were, and I created a squirrel. I literally just see things and want to see if I can recreate them. So one of my pieces, this one, I'll just show you. I don't know if you can see it on there,
I'm
but
gonna see if I can put you on the full screen. I don't know how to do that at the
I
moment.
don't know. I was trying to put you on the full screen, but basically, it is a paper.
Oh, there we go, did it. Yay.
Um, that was inspired by myself. Basically, I was having a bit of a down day, and I looked in the mirror and thought, "Ugh, look at all that." And then I thought, actually, there's some beauty in those curves. There's some beauty in my body, and I wonder if I can make that a paper cut. And it has inspired a mini series, shall we say, of glorious women who are beautiful despite not being exactly as society might tell us we should be.
Yeah.
So it's an idea. It's a shape. I think it's shape
Mm.
that
Mm.
it's. I see a curve. I see a flower. I see a branch, and think, "Oh, that's such an interesting shape." Nothing I create is straight lines. It is all just very flowy, natural curviness. I am
Yeah.
inspired by things that look like Ooh, I wonder what that feels like.
Yeah. I can just imagine you with your slicer going, "Whoa."
All the time. My entire work is going, "Ooh," and then lifting it up and going, looking at the shadow and going, "Ooh, that's magic." Like, it's mental to me that I'm making that. And I'm just like, "Ooh." Like, you can't tell me magic's not real. What we do, ma'am, it is magic.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
we create things from nothing.
Yeah.
Magical.
It
It's
is,
magic.
isn't it? Yeah. And I'd just love to know a little bit more about your process then in terms of, like, what we were talking about with Caris, like, do you work intuitively? Do you have a picture? Do you sketch it before? And then also, how do you know when it's done?
Okay. Well, with paper cuts, it's fairly simple because there is nothing left to cut away. So it's done. The problem then is you're supposed to frame it and stuff, and I've got very little interest in that part of it. Once I've finished the cutting, I'm
Done.
under it. But I start with a blank piece of paper and I sketch all my sketches. All my work is hand drawn. I don't use any digital things at all. So it's all done with a pencil. And I draw everything so that it's back to front, so that when I cut it out, you can't see any of the pencil marks. I fairly recently discovered that if you photocopy your drawing, then you can print it more than once. And if you make a mistake, you can start again, which has saved my heart because it's very distressing to cut a bit off and then go, oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a blank page, it's a pencil. I stare at that blank page for way longer than you would think is humanly possible, going, I don't know where to start. So invariably I'll think, right, I'm just going to put a daisy on and I'll draw a daisy. And from that, I can make it grow. Once the page isn't blank anymore, I'm off. So I draw it all out. Now I photocopy it, print it onto the nice paper that I want it to be the artwork, and then I just sit and cut, and that is really quite mindless. The drawing is hard. I find
Yeah.
the drawing very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Uh, but once I'm at the cutting process, I mean, man, that's just sweet. I can just cut, 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 and it's finished when there's literally nothing left to cut. It's like lace. It's teeny tiny, tiny little holes, and I really will look for any spot that I can cut another leaf, another swirl, another
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it is. I I go with it, and I tend not to be too strict with myself either. If I cut a leaf off, well, that's okay. It's autumn now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Oh,
Yeah. Can you Bob Ross it? Like, "Oh, it was a leaf, now it'll be a bird."
it's the accident. It's fine. I mean, sometimes you like if for
Mm.
commissions, you've got to be really careful. If you, I do family trees, so it's say an oak tree, and I hide all the family names in there and little tokens that indicate their hobbies and interests. So it might be a ballet shoe or a paintbrush or something. If you
Oh,
chop off Aunt Doris, they tend to get upset about that. You do.
yeah. There's only so much freestyling you can do before
Yeah,
committed.
absolutely.
Yeah. And I'd love to know, Rowena, and I'm gonna come back to you, Caris, and ask this same question, is where do you see your work moving forwards? Do you have a new direction? Are you gonna continue the way you are? I'd love to just know what the future looks like for you in terms of where you're heading next.
I want to incorporate colour. All my paper cuts
Ooh.
are black and white. So either black paper cut on white background or vice versa. I do sometimes use a coloured background, but as you can probably tell, I love colour. In real life, I'm a very colourful person, so it's funny to me that my work is so black and white.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at incorporating some colour, making it sort of stained glassy. And as a passion project on the side that I won't be selling necessarily. Well, I won't be selling. It's just something I want to do. Is I would like to do a series of work that is inspired by 80s and 90s cartoons and toys.
Yeah.
Just for fun, I'm talking Polly Pocket, My Little
Yeah.
Pony, She-Ra.
Oh, She-Ra,
You
Princess
know,
of Power.
I've got the idea that making paper cuts of those things would just be really cool.
Yeah.
So I want to try that. I think it'll be good to try new techniques and try new ideas for something that is for my wall, basically.
Yeah. Well, before I come to Caris with the same question, I just wanna talk about this again, what you've just said there, because this shows the importance of play again, that if you have an urge, and I'm saying this because I've heard a lot of people say to me recently, I avoid playing because it feels like it's not the proper work, and I get so caught up in, "Will this sell?" or "Will this," and if you avoid that side that Rowena's just talking about now, it's like it's like you're you're cutting off the evolution of your own creativity and your own joy. Like, we just saw Rowena then lighten up about She-Ra and My Little Pony. Like, why would you deny that? And I'm saying this because in other people, I see that there's a joy there, but they're suppressing it. And sometimes and what you say there is, "It's just for me." And if you need to say that to yourself to get this work out of you, say it. It's just for me. I'm going through exactly the same thing at the moment. I've got some work. I'm terrified how people will perceive it. It's just for me. And I think that's probably quite a good one for us all to say sometimes when we're in play mode. It's like not everything has to be for someone else. It can literally just be for you. However, when you do go down that road of playing with the things that you just think, "I can't imagine sharing this," or "I can't imagine it being for anyone else," sometimes it might just be for yourself, and then that infuses the other projects that you're doing. It's an outlet, there is something in it that happens. It could be the happy accident that then goes, "Oh, this is how you're gonna end up doing these other big pieces." You just don't know where this play will take you. And the other thing too is sometimes, um, it might become something. The amount of people I've spoken to who have created play work which they thought would never become anything, and I'm talking now about artists who've used perishable items like cabbage, eggs, and, you know, yeah, I mean, I can't reel any more off, but there's been a lot over the years that I've spoken to that end up using these items, and it's ended up becoming their full-time thing, a bit like what Caris was saying with the collage being the side thing. The play ended up becoming the main focus. So thank you, Rowena, for sharing that. It's exciting. We can't wait to see your colour. And in fact, Diane's here, and Diane said, "Oh, as soon as you said stained glass, I thought of Diane." Because Diane is a stained glass is a glass artist. And I thought Diane's gonna love that, and Diane's here. Hayley says, "I love the sound of the 80s toy cuts." Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I will go to Caris, and I'm gonna come back to the chat. So now's the time to ask any questions if you have any. Caris, how about you? What does the future look like for you?
So I've got this long series of alphabet-based work I'm going to be doing, which is going to keep me busy for a while. But also within that, actually, I'm going to incorporate quite a lot of play. So I am going to be working in ways that I did some stuff in the past where I take Victorian photographs and kind of play around on and work on top of those or on top of old prints. So I'm going to bring some of that back in and do some smaller pieces as well. So I'm seeing it as quite a playful way. So I want to sort of once I've completed that, exhibit that, and I also would like to do a book
Oh.
with all the images once I've finally done it. This is a bit of a long-term project at the moment. So, but that's what I'm working on alongside all the other, I mean, everything else, little bits and pieces here and there as well I'm doing. That I'm really excited. Yeah, it's just to kind of, this is an idea I've had for quite a long time. I've put all these individual pieces into folders about 4 or 5 years ago and then parked it. So it's been bubbling under the surface. So it's been at the beginning of this year, I was like, "Right, this is it. This is the year I start."
Yeah, wonderful. That's so exciting to have a longer term vision as well for putting it inside a book, which again is a great topic of conversation. Talk about presentation. I'm with Rowena. I like to create and then I don't want to think about presentation. However, presentation can be a big part of your voice and part of your identity too. And that's a great example actually of thinking about your art and then it becoming something else.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm going to come to the chat and we'll wrap up. It's been amazing to talk through the process. Isn't it interesting to hear how other artists work and approach this whole journey of being an artist. Simon's with us. Hello. Good to see you all here. Bernie, I was with Bernie in Ireland. It's good to see you back. Simon says here, we feel part ever else we do. An actor doesn't stop being an actor when they are resting. Yeah, yeah, that's right. You can work in seasons, you can take time off. Oh, someone says here, sneaky watching whilst while my non-art day job. Well, at my non-art day job. Sorry, that was a mouthful. Oh, Anne said this is great. Thank you so much, Anne, for tuning in. Great to see you. Start, travel, amuse. Anne, I really appreciate the sharing, so much listening whilst on the day job. There's some background noise. Yes, I'm conscious of that too. It seems to be when Caris and I speak, Rowena's perfectly coming through. So I need to look into that. Why? It's the top row where there's some feedback for some reason. I'll look into that so we can fix it for next time. Um, oh, good to see you. Early spring morning here in Canada. Your artwork you showed has the energy of spring. Yeah, we were just talking about that actually before we came on.
Mm.
Um, and then Christine's with us. This has been lovely. I can really connect to Caris in the process. Well done, ladies. Thank you. Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Caris, where can people find you if they want to follow up and follow your work and your
Uh,
journey?
yeah, so Instagram, I'm Caris Collage Artist, and my website is carisjackson.com.
Brilliant. Rowena, where can people find you?
My name, Rowena Roberts, paper artist. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and my website is rowenaroberts.co.uk, I think.
Wonderful. Wonderful. We'll put
Google it, it'll come up.
Yeah, we'll put the links below as well. If you're watching this on a replay, the links will be below. And then one final thing is we have our Kickstart Your Art event happening next week. If you'd like to join us, it's free to take part. The link is above. And we'll be talking more about this topic and how you can start to really kickstart your art, your voice, and go on to find your people, which is an important part of the making process. So wonderful. Thank you so much, Caris. Thank you, Rowena. We're looking forward to seeing your next phase of your work. So maybe we could bring you back in a year and have a look and see where it's gone. That would be amazing. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye. Bye.